All right, welcome to this Marketing Boost session on mindset and emotions for success. One of my early mindset coaches, a guy by the name of Pat Mesiti, he said to me, you can't build $1 million business with a $2 mindset. And that just really hit me. You know, what's interesting about this subject, if we run like a webinar on this or an event on this subject, we won't actually get as many people turn up as if we run it on Facebook ads or landing pages or something like that. But when it actually comes down to it, this subject matter here is really the most important, and you'll see why in a moment. Because if you don't have this piece in place, all the tactics and strategies in the world don't really matter. And so mindset and emotions, like developing your millionaire mindset and developing the emotional intelligence that goes with it, this isn't really like you can just tick the box, yes, I've done that. So I've achieved a high level of success in this entrepreneurial world now, but I'm still a student of this. I just keep learning, keep evolving, keep changing, and so do our partners as well. It's a journey rather than a destination. So just keep getting better and better at this, and go into this with 100% open mind, and don't think, hey, I know that stuff. Look at it for the bits, the holes in your game where you can improve. So this, like everything else we teach you, is really, we're going to focus on the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule. So what's the 20% of things that are going to give you the 80% of results? That's really basically, what this is about, rather than just focusing on everything. Also, this subject, I just noticed I've got a typo there, principe instead of principle. I'll get that one fixed. One thing here on mindset and success, this won't be the only training we give you guys on this, but this is kind of like initial 80-20. There'll be other things that follow on in this space, because it's just such a crucial area. So we're going to break it up into a couple of different areas. We're going to start off with success mindset. We're then going to look at emotional intelligence. We're also going to look at the differences between the language of the rich and the language of the poor, and how that affects you. And then we're going to wrap it up with about like how to be a balanced entrepreneur. So let's start with success mindset. I really like this from Tony Robbins, who's been one of my main mindset coaches over the years. Just a phenomenal man. He says, I found it's 80% psychology and 20% skills. So that means this mindset and emotions is as much as 80% of your success. And we've got this saying that you bring yourself to the deal. So I've seen, like, working with over 350 different businesses now over the years as an agency and as a coach, and also as an entrepreneur in different businesses. I've seen some businesses that were absolutely amazing, like they were phenomenal, incredible, but you as the business owner, you bring yourself to the deal. And sometimes the mindset of the business owner sabotages the deal. So that's where this area is just so crucial, because you're always going to bring yourself to the deal. And over time, you'll evolve, and you're bringing a better and better version of yourself to the deal all the time. And that's what this is really about. This is like what I think is flawed common thinking. So I think everyone would have heard this at some stage. I'm just going to move this a sec. Yeah, it says you got to be in the right spot at the right time. Like everyone would have heard that, especially growing up. Oh, I wish I was in that got to be in, or that guy got lucky, or that girl got lucky. They were in the right spot at the right time. That is true, but could it also be argued that two people could be in the same spot at the same time, and one sees an opportunity and another doesn't? Right? So related to that, if we get into the reality of it, is I think you've got to be the right person with the right mindset in the right spot at the right time. Okay, so you have to be open to seeing that there's opportunities there, and then you have to have the right mindset, emotions, and skills to be able to capitalize on it. I was at a party, and we're drinking beers, and we're just socializing in this coastal town where I used to live, and this guy talked to me about this entrepreneurial idea he had. And I said, yeah, no, you know what? I think that's a winner. You should go for it. And he said, but he didn't want to do anything with it. He was just like, you run with it and give me half. And I was like, yeah, but I got to do all the work, and I'm going to take all the risk. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So he was kind of like, he actually was, he was in the right spot at the right time for this opportunity, but he wasn't the right person because he wasn't willing to do the work. and he didn't have the right mindset. He wasn't really willing to do the work. We didn't end up doing anything with it, like giving him 50% and I do all the work and I take all the risk, kind of really wasn't a win-win sort of thing. So this is important. Like your wealth can only grow to the extent that you do. Like that Pat Mesiti quote that I mentioned before, you can't build $1 million business with a $2 mindset. And the same can be said for a $10 million business or a $100 million business. Why I have the picture of the lottery balls here is because if you think about it, so many lottery winners, after a while, they actually end up in a worse position than where they started. And the reason why is because their mindset and their emotional IQ isn't really to the point where they can handle that amount of money. So one thing that kind of sucks and that isn't really very politically correct to say, and I know there's exceptions to this rule, but kind of you're at the level of wealth that you deserve to be at from what the universe perceives you can handle, right? So that's why these people who get the lottery win, they actually can't handle that amount of money. They don't have the skills, the mental equipment to be able to handle it. So we need to become a better version of us to be able to handle more wealth. And the good thing about having more wealth is we can then make more difference in the world. We can do more good, really. So it's not all just about, buying extra stuff, although that is fun. It's really about what we can do in it. Okay, so again, not very politically correct, but most of us have messed up programming from our past. And we need to reprogram for success. So this picture is probably a little bit extreme. Little boy with his bunny, and then mama and dad are drinking in the background. And so that's like an extreme version of it, right? But if you think about the programming you got as you were growing up, and especially through your formative years, you might have been told things like, that money doesn't grow on trees, or you're always going to have to work hard, or that, rich people are bad, that kind of stuff. What messages did you get that maybe now have formed as beliefs in you and are holding you back? They could be limiting beliefs. So we're going to look at some of those things, and particularly some of that languaging, and we're going to look a little bit later about how we can reprogram that, because the reality is, like, your subconscious brain is not trying to help you grow. It's trying to keep you safe. And this really dates back to like our old reptilian brain, fight or flight, that kind of thing. The purpose, like, man now has an average lifespan of 78 years. And I think for women, it's 82 years or something to that effect. But it wasn't really that long ago that we were only living to 40 years of age and that kind of stuff, if you go back just a couple hundred years. Or might be even a couple thousand years. But anyway, in the overall scheme of things, it's not really that long. So your brain really is, you've still got this old kind of reptilian brain, which is really about protecting you. But protecting you and keeping you safe isn't the way to thrive. That's not how you're going to achieve great success in your life. So we need to reprogram our subconscious brain. So basically, if we want a different result, we can complain that life isn't fair, or we can learn. So basically, we've got a choice. We can complain that life isn't fair, or we can learn, evolve, and grow, and we can earn, deserve, and get it. So which is really going to get us further? Complaining life isn't fair, which really a lot of people do, or learning, evolving, and growing, and earning, deserving, and getting it. So like really that doing whatever it takes. What's interesting, if you look at the people in your life who are big whingers and complainers, how many of those are uber successful? Not really that many. You might get the occasional exception where they stumbled across the right thing at the right time, but as a general rule, whinging and complaining isn't really going to get you there. So I think I have this saying that if you want results that others want, but you really have to be willing to do things that others aren't willing to do to get results that others want, but they're not willing to get. So that's basically, how this whole thing works. So let's now break it down. Remember, we spoke about the 80-20 principle. So let's now look at 10 mindset essentials for success and ultimately creating lifestyle and freedom, which is what this is, really about. And obviously there's a lot more than 10, but we're just starting with the 80-20, and then we're going to do some follow-up trainings for you guys in this area as well as time goes on. Okay, so the first thing is focus. So you get what you focus on. Many entrepreneurs are sort of scattered and focusing on, I'm going to do a bit of this, I'm going to do a bit of that and a bit of that. So getting laser focused on what you want to achieve is crucial. And yeah, so not spreading yourself too thin. We have this saying here in Australia, like, and I'm not sure whether it's around the world as well, that like that he or she who chases two rabbits catches none. And you can imagine that kind of like in this spotlight, and then there's a rabbit going that way and a rabbit going that way, and you're kind of in the middle. So we need to be laser focused, and also we need to be very specific. And I'll talk to you about that in a sec as well. So we get what we focus on as well. So this also ties in with the positive stuff. So if we focus on a whole bunch of problems, if we focus on the negative, that's kind of what we're going to get. So reprogramming our brain to be more and more positive, and we'll talk about this. Like I pretty much live 100% positive diet. If someone's not, like, I think, is this person helping me or support, or are they not? And if they're not supporting me or they don't want what's best for me, then I very politely create distance or cull them out of my life. So it's really like, we need to think about this as a diet, as well as like the amount of the different things that we're focusing on. This is important on the subject of focus. Like, you need specific goals for your subconscious brain. So this is a picture of a heat-seeking missile. Okay, so the way the heat-seeking missile works is it deals in exacts. So a heat-seeking missile says, it's going along and it's doing calculations, and it says, did we meet our major heat source? Like, have we blown up? No, then keep going. Did we meet our major heat source? No, then keep going. That's why, like, those heat-seeking missile avoidance systems, basically what they're doing is putting out like flares type things that put out heat, trying to trick the heat-seeking missile. And your brain's the same way. If you tell it, hey, I want to get wealthy or I want to get rich, that's not really going to cut it. You have to have meaningful, specific goals. Like, this year we're going to hit revenue of $1 million with 400,000 profit, and next year we're going to hit $2 million with 600,000 profit, or whatever it is. You need meaningful specifics. If you're dealing in airy-fairy and you don't have exact goals, it's kind of like trying to fly get to the moon in a shuttle. You've got to keep adjusting. And you really need those specific goals in order to get there. We spoke about that, chasing two rabbits thing. That's one of the most common problems that I see amongst business owners and entrepreneurs. And we talk about it a lot with energy units. So I taught this at the mastermind recently as well, which is in another training that you guys are about to get. So common energy units problem. Like, if we look over on this left-hand side, we've got all these projects we're starting, and over on the right-hand side is like where if we smash it out of the park. Okay, so if we've got multiple projects going, they might all be winners, but they may not. But if we don't give them enough energy units, if we don't give them enough focus, then the chances of them reaching their full potential really is kind of very low. So what's a better model than this is if we then cull out of all those things we were doing, what's the thing that's going to give us the most chance of winning? And then the project with the greatest success is given the energy units, and the other projects are culled or paused. And only once success is achieved in the first project can we then, like a second project, be given energy units. So that's basically how it works. So we decided in this example, project 2 was going to give us the greatest chance of success. So let's give it the focus. Let's smash it out of the park. And then once it's really cranking and we've got a team that's running with it, that kind of stuff, then can we focus, on the next area. So that's basically, how this works. So working smart with energy units is just, crucial. Okay, so we move on then. So that was kind of the first one. And now if we look at the second one, we need to control our perceptions that limit us. And this is really about controlling our beliefs. And what I have here is a picture of a lens. So what's interesting about this is when something happens in front of us, we don't know necessarily whether we're seeing what actually happened or whether what we believed to happen, okay? Because each of us is kind of looking through our own goggles based off our things that have happened to us in the past and what we believe to be true. So a belief is really nothing other than a feeling that we come to with great certainty. So this is where it's really important to know, hey, what are our beliefs, and are they helping us or are they hurting us? So this actually, what I'm going to show you now is getting a little bit geeky, and it's going to be getting a little bit advanced for some people, but This is basically how beliefs get formed and how we can engineer our beliefs. And hopefully it'll come together over as I draw this kind of picture for you. So we have thoughts and feelings, and they lead to our actions, okay? And then our actions then lead to the results. So if we don't have those thoughts and feelings, hey, we're going to really, really make this happen, we don't take that action. And if we don't take any action, then we get no results, okay? So hopefully you're with me so far. Now, if we build on that, it's our programming, which leads to our thoughts and feelings, which leads to our actions, which leads to our results. So that programming could be programming we got at an early age from our parents, could be programming we're getting at the moment from our peers, can be programming from smart environments like exactly what you're doing right now where you're upskilling your brain. Like this is awesome programming. So some of it's where we're reprogramming our brain to give better thoughts and feelings, that think bigger thoughts, dream bigger dreams, that kind of thing. Take bigger actions and lead to bigger results. But from that, if we build on it again, so our programming leads to our thoughts and feelings, which leads to our actions, which leads to our results, which leads to beliefs, which drive future actions. So if we know, hey, if we drive this traffic, if we convert these leads and we result in those sales, all of a sudden our beliefs that maybe making money on the internet was hard, we now may be thinking, hey, believing that making money on the internet is easy. It's like the way I approach it. It's just a formula. It's a recipe. It's systematic. It's repeatable. Okay. But I didn't always have that belief. Like initially I was just like, what is going on, and how do I make this work? But whereas now I've got it to such a high level that it's a formula, it's a recipe, it's repeatable. So our beliefs drive our future actions. So that's basically the whole way it works. Isn't that interesting when you look at that whole thing to map that out? So the programming that we get is just crucial because that programming is ultimately going to lead to the results that we get. Alrighty, we move on to number 3 now, which is own the outcomes. And the reason I have a picture of a ship here is because be captain of our own ship. This really came about through the agency days and then also in the coaching days. One thing I noticed was that there was a trend, and success leaves clues. So not everyone, but a lot of entrepreneurs, when things are going really, really good, they're the captain of the ship, they're owning the outcome. And then as soon as started to hit rough seas, as soon as things started to go not so well, that all of a sudden they were doing the blame game. Hey, who did this and you did that, and that kind of stuff. So that's where it's just so important. So as the leader of our business, as the entrepreneur, we need to own the outcomes, whether results are good or whether the results are bad. And I think by just being that grounded, then your team will see that as well, and that confidence flows throughout the team. But this is just so important. Be the captain of your own ship, even when it's going bad. And I would say especially when it's going bad. Just so important. Like I would see 7 out of 10 entrepreneurs tripping up in this area. They're not being the captain of their own ship. Alrighty, number 4. So we need to control the subconscious noise and change the chatter. So what I call ants. So ants is annoying negative thoughts. So we might all have those, like we all do get those at times. So it might be like, you may think something along the lines of, am I good enough to do this? Am I as good as them? What makes me worthy of doing this? That kind of thing. Or they're better looking than me, or they're skinnier than me, or any of this. Often it's about comparison. So we need to really control that. Richard Bandler, who's the co-creator of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, if you haven't ever studied that, I strongly recommend you become a practitioner of NLP at some stage, even if you don't want to do anything with NLP, just to be able to control your subconscious brain. He says that most people have a 5 or 6 year old running their subconscious brain. They've never really focused on it. So effectively, if you don't focus on it, if you don't learn how to control it, then that chatter can just get out of control. So here's a great thought. So when you get an annoying negative thought, say, hey, is that thought helping me or is it hurting me? Okay. And if it's helping me, then take it on board and run with it. And if it's hurting you, then really think, well, if it's not serving me, then get rid of it. And you can do a technique called a swish, where you like, and get rid of it and replace it with an empowering thought. As you get more and more advanced on how you control your subconscious brain, you actually learn that, and through NLP I learned this, neuro-linguistic programming, that your thoughts are really like pictures. And the closer these pictures are to the front of your like, if you think about it like your vision, the closer these thoughts are to right in front of you, and the lighter and brighter they are, and the more they spin towards you, then the more power they have. And just like something in the distance, the more you can push them off into the distance, and the smaller that you can make them, and the darker that you can make them, and the less you can make them spin, the less power they have. So through NLP, you really, really do learn how to take thoughts that aren't helping you and to get rid of them, which is very, very powerful. So this is not to be underestimated, especially like, so if you find that you've got that chatter going on, definitely do the NLP stuff. It's really, really powerful, impactful. All right, number 5, we have to be positive. Okay, so like I said, I wake up every day living 100% positive diet. I try to have positive people around me. I try to work on positive projects. Like, so the reason why I have Marco, James and Andy as business partners is because they're positive, they're fun. We're doing cool stuff together. Like, so if these guys were a drag, if they were like on my back all the time, or if the glass wasn't half full, if the glass wasn't half empty, it'd be like, hey, sorry guys, it's really not going to work long term. Either we need to fix that or we need to part ways, because it's just not really a healthy way. Like, when I think about my diet, it's not just what I eat, it's not just what I drink, it's the other things that I take in as well. So, and it has to be positive people that I work with. And I think you should think about that too. Who in your life, really is not positive, and can you cull them or create more distance? Even the things that you're working on, like, so if something you're making money out of it, but it's really killing the environment or it's hurting others, or, that kind of stuff, like, that's really, really bad karma. So I think these things, have to be positive. And if you're in a better state, if you're in a positive state, you'll make better decisions than if you're a disaster area, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I think related to that is confidence. I remember when I went away to summer camp as 21 years of age, and there was this guy there, and he was just amazing with the ladies, and he wasn't really like a good-looking rooster. He sort of was, but he wasn't like a Brad Pitt type character. And I remember someone saying to him, what's your key and what's the secret? And he was talking about just confidence is the secret to just about everything. Like, so approach it with confidence. I think, with confidence, sometimes people are introverted and they're kind of, inward looking, but you can also step into a role. You can step into a character. So you can be like, so say for example, when you've got to present, like at the moment, you'll notice my hand movements and that kind of stuff. I actually have to be a more elevated version of myself when I'm presenting and when I'm teaching than, hey, if I'm just sitting there working. So you can initially just step into character of a more confident version of yourself, and then over time it becomes a habit as you get more and more better results. But if you think about it, people who aren't confident, how many of them do you know that are really, really successful? Not many, right? So you need to be confident to get these goals. So confidence is crucial. Related to this, we need to have an abundance mindset. Okay, so a lot of people are taught when they're growing up, and this is based back to that programming, they're taught that, hey, if I win, you're losing. Whereas this is not the case. If we look at it from a win-win point of view, and we try to generate win-wins in our lives. And if you look at modern capitalism, basically the way that it works, over time, there's more and more wealth being created. So really go into these things where there's enough for everyone to go around. I know people think about like, hey, I'm not going to talk about my market. I'm not going to talk about my niche. And I do get that. Like, sometimes people copy you. I've had that a lot throughout my career as well, where people copy you. But the reality is there's enough for everyone to go around. I don't believe in copying someone's exact market, but I do believe, or copying their exact product. I hate that. But I do believe in that concept of lag time, where you take something from one market and you apply it into another, or take something from one region and apply it into another. But basically, you have to have an abundance mindset. If you don't have an abundance mindset, this is really like one of those things that will sabotage you, or will hold you back. This can be like a big limiting factor. Okay, number 8 of our mindset essentials is resilience. And Jules, my wife, and I, we've talked about this a lot. This really has been one of our keys to success. So I don't know, when I was starting out, was I any different to anyone else? Like, was I any better than anyone else? Probably not. But what I did do different was I was more resilient. And, you know, when life got me down, I was just willing to keep picking myself up and keep moving forward. Like, and so there's that saying from Rocky, and I'll probably butcher it. It's like, it doesn't matter, where Rocky Balboa says, you know, it doesn't matter how many times you get hit. What matters is how many times you can be hit and keep moving forward. On that subject, my son Lincoln, he turned 11 yesterday, and he's got this punching bag, and we got him the gloves for it. And but I don't think he's punched the punching bag yet. I think he just basically looks at it as a dad punching equipment. All he seems to be doing is punching me. But he's having good fun and teaching him some skills as well. But it ties in with that, you know, resilience. When I think about back when I started, which was quite a while ago now, 2003, we started selling. Our first website was propertybooks.com.au. We were selling books and courses about investment property. And if I think about all the people that started back in similar times to me, or really even over those years, most people quit when it got hard. And rather than picking themselves up, dusting themselves off, what can I learn from that? Like this example with a bike. Everyone who fell off a bike, if you quit at that stage, you would never, ever keep going. Like yesterday, for my son's birthday, we went rock climbing. And my daughter, she had a scary experience 2 years ago. But then yesterday, I just talked to her into, no, get back on the bike. We're going to do this. And you know what? She was making it to the top of hills and like those climbs and all that kind of stuff. It was that resilience. It's just so important. And for Jules and I, this has been a big one. If you don't have this, yeah, then it's going to be tricky, because it's never going to be just smooth sailing all the time. You want it to be doing like that, but there is going to be curves on the road. So we need that resilience. And I really love this. You know, never give up on your dreams. Most people quit when it gets hard, but you can see, like in this example, if this second guy had to quit, then he wouldn't have worked his way through to the goal, you know, in that example. So just so important. Don't give up on your dreams. But there is times, you know, with that being said, there is times when you need to say one of the most important words in business, which is next. You know, like, hey, we're smashing our head against a brick wall here. So maybe we need to try a different market, or we need to try a different product. And it is a balancing act to figure out, you know, should we just keep going, or should we be saying next? And that's, I think, rely on your gut feel with that. But the word is next. It's not quit. You know, keep going on that. And most people don't succeed because they don't complete. They don't make it all the way through. And this ties back to what we were talking about before, you know, with our energy units. Alrighty, number 9, we need to be able to handle uncertainty. Okay, so if we can't handle uncertainty, we're better off in a day job, okay? Because to most people, a day job feels safer, right? But to me, a day job has the worst number in business, which is 1. So say, for example, Marco is my boss. I could be doing a great job, but I'm not necessarily seeing everything he's seeing. And then all of a sudden, his business, he needs to downsize. He says, you've done a great job, Greg, but sorry, we've got to go. We've got to cut costs. So then it's like, whoa, you got one income stream, you know, that kind of thing. But going out on your own and going into business, that has a whole bunch of uncertainty associated with it. Every time you try a different product, every time you try a different market, there's that uncertainty associated with it. And when you put something out into the market, you need to be able to handle that, because Alexi, who has been on the call before, Alexi Neo-Klaus, he says, you know, when you put something out into the market, the marketing is just really giving you a result. It's just giving you feedback back from the market. And we need to be able to handle that uncertainty. If we can't, then we are better off with a day job. And there's a lot to be said for when you're in your day job, working on your side hustle, and then only when you get it big enough, you can switch over. So you can reduce your uncertainty in that regards. But we really need to be able to handle uncertainty. And number 10, we need to be able to get uncomfortable. Like, so I'm a surfer. I've got no intention of riding waves like this. Like I would, in reality, that'd be the death of me. But it's just a picture that is imagery, basically that everything that we want, and I think I've got this. Yes, we need to get uncomfortable in order to get comfortable. There's a saying that you can be uncomfortable now and grind and hustle to get comfortable later, or you can be comfortable now and just go to work, come home, sit on the couch, but you know what? You're going to be uncomfortable later when it comes time for retirement, that kind of thing. So that's when you'll be thinking, have we got enough money? How long are we able to live like this, rather than, hey, let's go travel here. We haven't seen that part of the world and it's not really a stress, that kind of stuff. So uncomfortable now or uncomfortable later, there's no real, you just got to decide what's right for you. Me personally, I was happy to get uncomfortable for a long period of time, but now, like if you look, I'm 44 years of age and I'm pretty much time and money free. I still work hard, don't get me wrong, but I don't have to work hard. I work hard because progress equals happiness, and I'm still building the nest egg. I've still got some things that I want to, like many things that I want to achieve, and that kind of stuff in life, but I don't have to work hard if I don't want to, because I've got uncomfortable and now I'm comfortable, and then it's just like smooth sailing from here. But I do get that it's not always the case like that, especially when you're first starting out. It is hard, it is difficult, but it's worth sticking with. So I love this. Everything we want is on the other side of our comfort zone. So we've got to go over our comfort zone, or past our comfort zone, past our fear, for everything that we want. Hope you like these hand-drawn diagrams. I really like those. My brain thinks visually, and when I see something like that, I'm just like, I get it. I think they're very useful teaching tool. I know I learn well from them. One of my marketing coaches, Russell Brunson, used that very well, and that was where I got that principle from, that technique from, and that's where I use them. All right, so that talks about now 10 of our mindset essentials. We're going to look at more mindset stuff coming up. But now let's look at our emotional intelligence, okay? So you might be thinking, what's emotions got to do with success? But emotions is really key, because if we don't have this as a smooth sail, I'll show you that in a moment, then we can be sabotaging everything else that we're doing. And the quality of our life is really determined by the quality of our emotions and how we manage our emotions. So we need to manage our emotional spikes and falls, and we call this the Teflon slide off. So if we take offense, and if everything everyone says to us is like read the wrong way, interpreted the wrong way, I'm not sure how you would describe that, then basically we're allowing external sources to control our emotions, which is going to be a recipe for disaster. So I think we've all seen a Teflon pan at some stage, and I'm talking about like a new Teflon pan, not like an old one you've had for 2 years and doesn't matter what you put in it, it burns and it's charcoal, that kind of thing, and it's time to replace it. A new one's pretty impressive when you put an egg on it and it slides around, that kind of thing. So this Teflon slide off, this has helped a lot of business owners that I've worked with. So when something comes in, if we don't need to take offense to it, if we don't need to let it affect us emotionally, just let it slide off, you know what I mean? It doesn't really matter. If it's not important, just let it slide off, let it go through to the keeper, so to speak. So we call these emotional intelligence waves, or I call these emotional intelligence waves. So let's look at a less successful entrepreneur's emotional intelligence wave, and then let's look at a more successful entrepreneur's emotional intelligence waves. So a less successful entrepreneur, you can see here that they're going from upset, they're unhappy, then they're calm, then they're really happy and satisfied, and then they're like unhappy again. And it's just like, have you met someone in your life where you don't know whether they're going to be a great person that day or whether they're going to be a disaster area? That's basically what I see in these successful entrepreneurs. There is some exceptions to that rule though, like the Apple CEO Steve Jobs, he was kind of like that, and a perfectionist, which really goes against the grain from what really works for most entrepreneurs. But I'd say that guy was a freak and he was going to achieve success, whatever, but we don't want to model ourselves off that. That's not really a successful model. Here's a more successful model where we want to be calm and happy and calm and happy. Notice like with the more successful entrepreneurs, It's not going down into that upset, unhappy. We want to kind of avoid that. Like Daisy, she's our operations manager. She said to me, I don't know how you do it sometimes. Like there's chaos going on all around and you just step in really, really calm and steer the ship as if it's not affecting you at all. And sometimes, it affects me. But the thing is, I really, really need to try as an entrepreneur to do this more calm into emotional intelligence waves and happy rather than that just basically a disaster area. So I hope you get good value from that. Like that's just crucial. And this, I think, next area we're going to look at on our emotions, the thing that holds most people back is that fear. So whether it's the fear of the unknown, the fear of is this going to work? This is really, really related to that uncertainty one that we had before. The fear that, hey, what about if I'm not good enough? Or what about if this isn't a success? What are they going to think about me? What are they going to say about me? And I think social media makes it really, really bad as well. And what's hard about this one is actually the bigger your profile gets, the more obvious and amplified your failings are. Like more and more people see them. But the thing is, all of those are just learnings. So we just got feedback back from the market. We can't let the stuff hold us back. If we're going to let fear hold us back, then basically we've got no choice but to go to work, come home, sit on the couch, you know what I mean? That kind of model. And about that, like, I've got this saying that I think the masses have it wrong, because if you think about what the masses are doing, like with letting fear hold them back or maybe not thinking in the way that you and I think, is the typical man or woman, remember, the male passes away on average at 68 and the average female is like 72. Obviously in countries like America, Australia, based off World Health Standards, that would be higher. But if you look at it across the globe, that's what it is. And the average retirement age is 67. So that means men are working all their lives to, on average around the globe, to only be retired for 1.4 years. And women, it's like 5 or 6 years until they pass away. Like that model is just flawed. So the stuff that we're learning, the stuff that we're doing here together is just crucial. Like we need to overcome these fears. We need to take massive action. We need to make this stuff happen. And we need to be able to control our stress, okay? So stress really, really slows a lot of people down. And Jewel and I have had a lot of stress in our lives, and I'm going to show you the number one tool that we have used to control stress in our lives. Actually, that's coming up next. Sorry, I had my order wrong. So stress is really related to this thing that I learned from an amazing entrepreneur called Carl White, which is called coolness factor. Okay, so coolness factor equals income divided by stress. So as business owners, as entrepreneurs, we want more coolness factor in our business. So if we look at this, if our income goes down, our coolness goes down, and if our stress goes up, then our coolness goes down. So obviously we want to really, really control our stress. Okay, so this is the thing that I was talking about, this problem solution progressor. So basically if you're stressed, every time you're stressed, we grab a piece of paper and then we draw a line down the middle and we write problems on one side, and then we write solutions or next steps on the other side. And we just brainstorm and list down all the problems that we've got. And it could be personal problems, it could be business, it could be family, it could be friends, it doesn't matter. You might want to do a business one and do a personal one. And then we're like, okay, well, what's the problem? How are we going to solve it? Or sometimes you can't solve it, but you can say, hey, these are the next steps to moving it forward. And remember, your subconscious brain deals in exacts. So by getting it down on paper, your subconscious brain starts to solve and move these things forward. So let's look at an example. So here, the problem is we don't have enough leads. And then we're like, okay, well, what's the solution or the next steps? We're going to add additional 2 more lead magnets on this subject and that subject in the next 3 weeks, so meaningful, specific. And we're going to add exiting pop-ups and Facebook ads. So that should really, really help move our leads forward, or it's a significant next step, okay? So rather than stressing about the problem of, hey, we don't have enough leads, it's like, what's the next step we're going to take, or what's the solution to that? Or here's an example again. We don't have enough margin with our main product line. So in this case, we're going to book a meeting with Brian at Acme Corp, and we're going to discuss and renegotiate our buy rates so that we can be more competitive with price and better margins. So these are both business examples, but it also could apply to personal as well. So this problem solution progressor. If you're stressed, absolutely do this. And then Jewel and I, we might do this once a month, like say, for example, over a period of 2 or 3 months. And when you go back to it a month later and you look at it, it's like, wow, you know, the amount of things that you can just cross off now that you were stressed about that are gone. It's amazing. It's one of the best tools. I've never seen it before. I just came up with it, and I've taught it to so many entrepreneurs, and it's really, really helped a lot of people. I challenge you to give it a go. Show it to your partner, your business partner, and do that together and step through it. Okay, also on this emotional side, we need to engineer happiness. So we need to master the natural chemicals, so the chemistry set of our brain. And we've sort of spoken about this a little bit already. So happiness really is a goal. Joy really is a goal. But we need to engineer that. We can't just leave happiness to chance. We need to, as we get more switched on, we need to engineer happiness. And so this is where if we're in this environment, we know, hey, we've got more chance of being happy. If we go over to this environment, that's really not good for us. So if we hang out in this environment, we're going to engineer more happiness. If we hang out with these people, they're really encouraging us, like people within Marketing Boost, right? They're encouraging you. They want to see you do well. People out in the general public may not, some of your friends may not actually really want you to succeed. Some of your family may not really want you to succeed. And it may not be that they're negative or that they're narcissistic. At a subconscious level, they may really just be trying to protect you, or at a subconscious level, they may be really trying to hold you back to their level so that they don't feel insignificant because you've moved, you've changed, you know, that kind of thing. So we've got to figure out what inputs are engineering that chemistry set in our brain so that we're focusing on ones that are going to give us more happiness and more joy. I hope that makes sense for you. So that's kind of like a lot about the emotions, and we've looked a lot about the mindset. Now we're going to start reprogramming our mindset. So language, if it comes back to NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, if we start to change our language, we can start to change basically our behaviors, and we can start to change the way we think and the way we act, and ultimately the results that we get. So let's look at some of the differences now between the rich and the poor. As you go through this, and there's probably about 12 examples, maybe 15, something like that, start to think, hey, maybe take note of the ones that you're doing that are like the poor, not like the rich, and start fixing those. With each of these, you're going to see the bad example and the good example, to the empowering one to replace it with. Okay, so the differences between the way that the rich and the poor people think. So the rich think, you know, I create my life. So we've spoken about that a lot today. Hey, we can engineer happiness. We can engineer how our emotions work, you know, that kind of stuff. And the poor people think life happens to me, right? So which one are you doing? Are you engineering your success? Are you engineering your life, or is life happening to you? So when things go wrong, we're looking for the positive. What can be learned from this? What can we take into the next chapter? Or are you seeing the negative and complaining all the time? Are you a whinger? A whinger and a complainer. There's a not very politically correct saying, which I call is a shit magnet. And a shit magnet where if you're whinging and complaining, you're basically becoming a shit magnet. You're holding a magnet out and you're just attracting negative shit to you. Like I said, not very politically correct, but sometimes those are the things that get through that you'll remember. So we don't want to be a shit magnet. It's a really, really bad way to go. Okay, so I engineer my own luck. Luck is labor under correct knowledge. So if you look at me, for an example, some people say, hey, that guy got lucky. Did I get lucky? Was there some elements of luck? Sure, across the way along the line. Sometimes I was in the right spot at the right time. Or was I the right person with the right mindset in the right spot at the right time? Do you know what I mean? Other people could have been there and completely missed it. And luck is labor under correct knowledge. So you can engineer your own luck. Sure, bad things, unlucky things can happen to you, but they happen to everyone. But we want to engineer our own luck wherever possible. Or are we a victim? Are we a victim of circumstance? Some people are just running their lives without really steering it in any great direction at all. They're just reactive to everything that happens around them. Let's look at some more examples. So I play the game of money to win. Okay, that's the way the rich think. And look at the poor. My main goal with money is to not lose. Oh, I don't want to lose money. I'm not doing that. I don't want to lose money. But if you don't take any risk, if you don't put any skin in the game, you're never going to get the results. So we need to play the game of money to win. We don't want to just have that. Yeah, it's the same as you see that with sports teams as well. So sometimes you'll see a sports team where they've got a lead and then they're just trying to protect the lead, and often the lead will erode rather than playing the game to win. They're just trying to not lose, which I think is a bad way to go. So the rich, I'm committed to becoming rich, or I'm committed to becoming wealthy, or I'm committed to becoming free, engineering freedom in my life. Look at this, and I will do whatever it takes. Okay, so I'll do whatever it takes. The resilient stuff we spoke about. I'm going to pick myself up. I'm going to keep going, that kind of thing. Whereas the poor, I want to be rich. So what's the difference between that? Like, that's massive. So I want to be rich. Yeah, you can want all you like, but maybe you might win the lotto, but you can be rich for a couple of years. But I want to be rich really isn't going to do it. You need to upskill your brain, upskill your emotions, upskill your knowledge, upskill, take massive action, follow through on it, learn from it, not just I want to be rich. Okay, so we need to focus on opportunities that we see in front of us rather than focusing on the obstacles. Remember this, we don't want to be a shit magnet. We don't want to focus on that. So really focus on, okay, that's an obstacle. We're going to overcome that. So sometimes with an obstacle, it's like, how high is it to jump it? Or sometimes we can just literally go under it, that kind of thing, rather than, so focus on what's the opportunity on the other side of the obstacle rather than, and how can we get past the obstacle? So yeah, I think two completely different ways of looking at things. So we want to focus on making, keeping, and investing money, because in reality, it doesn't really matter how much money you earn. It matters how much you keep, and it matters how much you get working for you. So getting money working for you. And I'll teach some stuff coming up as well about, like, a lot of us are focus on business owners, but being a good business owner. But after that, if we're going to create long-term wealth, we need to get our eye more so we need to get more switched on in our investing, and I'll show you more of that stuff coming up. So we need to focus on making and keeping and investing money rather than spending money to get more stuff. So the rich pay themselves first with time, and the rich pay themselves first with money. The poor, if you look at money, basically what they do is they spend and then they'll save and invest what's left, which is only a tiny little bit, whereas the rich save and invest first, and then they spend what's left. It's massive difference. Okay, so the rich admire, congratulate, and model rich people. So like I can look at Marco. He's got a lot of runs on the board. What is that? That guy's very switched on. What can I take from his knowledge? What can I learn from hanging out with him? What can I model of his behaviors that maybe aren't strengths in my game yet, and make myself stronger? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Or do we want to resent rich people, which, remember, maybe just programming that you got at a younger age with that thinking that if they're rich, we can't be as well. When remember the abundance mindset, there's plenty to go around, and yeah, us becoming wealthy isn't going to take from anyone else. Okay, we need to promote ourselves. So this is really about selling. We need to put ourselves out there, our company, our products, and our values. And poor people say, I don't like selling, okay? But nothing happens until a sale is made. So you can have the world's best widget, but if no one buys it, it's not really going to do any good. And you're not going to help anyone with their maths. You're not going to help anyone with whatever you're doing, sort of thing. So we need to be focused on promotion. But there was a guy, Andrew Grant, who was a great mentor of mine, and he taught me about this, particularly in regards to selling. And what he said was, like, if you're not putting it out there, then you're not helping people, right? So if you're worried about it, then you're being inwardly focused. But if your product or your service is genuinely going to help people, then you're doing a disservice by not putting it out there. So be confident. If what you're selling is helping people, sell it. Like, sell it like crazy. You're doing it a disservice not to. If your mindset is, I don't like selling, I don't like sales, then you're majorly limiting yourself. There's no doubt about it. We've got a couple more. So the rich are leaders and the poor are followers. Okay, so every job that I've ever been in, I always end up the boss, whether I'm the boss or not. And like, I had an example. I was designing there's a state here in Australia called Victoria, and I was designing the email integration of all these like 16 different government departments, how they all spoke to each other. And I wasn't officially the boss, but everyone would come in and they would straight away come and ask me the questions. What do you want us to do here? What's the direction with that? And our real boss, a guy called Stuart, is a great guy, but was a different level of leader. And he'd be like, hey, fellas, ladies, you know, I'm the boss. Come over here and ask me. And they're like, oh, yeah, sorry. And then they'd go over there. But I was the natural leader of the group, you know, that kind of thing. So think about yourself. Are you a leader or a follower? And if you're not a leader, then what are you going to do to become one? Okay, so we need to be bigger than our problems, and we need to meet them head on, and we need to overcome them. Or your choice is our problems can be bigger than us, and we can shrink into them, and it's like all too hard, and we're not going to keep digging to get to that gold at the end of the tunnel, right? We're going to stop halfway through. We're going to go back. There's a lot of good stuff on Netflix. We're going to sit down on the couch and we're going to watch that instead of like working and then hustling and getting ahead in life and creating abundance and going on and making a big difference in life. This next one here, we're going to be assertive. So we can be nice, firm, but assertive, or we can be too nice. This one, really, I put this in for me because I've always been too nice, right, throughout my life. And it hurt me for so long. Someone would say something bad to me and I would walk away, and then I'd come up with the best thing to say later, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. And I was always too nice. I didn't want conflict and that kind of stuff. Whereas now, like, I'll mix it with anyone. It's just like, and at the time, I'm a nice guy. I'm not a jerk at all, like as far as confrontation, but I'll say, hang on a second, that doesn't sound right. Or hang on a second, I don't think that's fair. It could be argued this, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So being assertive, if you're too nice, if you're a puppy dog who rolls over on his belly, you know, like on his back and exposes his or her belly all the time, yeah, you won't get as far in business. So you do need to be tough, but you don't want to be a complete jerk. There's a balancing act somewhere in the middle there. And I think this is our last row of them. So we want to get paid based on results and value that we deliver. So money for value rather than money for time. Okay, so I do get that it starts off as money for time, but over time we wanted to deliver money for value. So like example, in the baby stuff that I do, like on Amazon and that kind of things, I've set up systems that are making me money. Like I'm selling baby products on Amazon in the US, in Canada, in Mexico, all over Europe, in Japan, in Australia, and an e-commerce store. I've done the work. I've put in systems that amplify capital. So I spend this much and I make that much, and it happens every day without me doing anything, right? Sure, I've got to measure it and manage it and tweak it, but it's based off value that I'm delivering, not based off my own personal time. So we want to separate out, we want to separate our time. We want to think of a world of abundance rather than a world of limitations. And we want to focus on our net worth rather than just what's our income right now. And that'll tie in. We need to talk more about investing. We need to teach more of that in the group coming up. Okay, so I've got one more row. I thought that was the end of them. Sorry. I want to make money work hard for me rather than I work hard for money, again, which is tying into the investing. We need to be able to think long-term rather than just short and immediate term. And mindset is crucial to my success, which is exactly, congratulations on you for being here for this, or I don't need to focus on that mindset crap. So anyone who's saying I don't need to focus on that mindset crap actually does. But that belief is going to, to hold them back completely. So realistically, we need mindset, emotion, strategy, skills, and tools. And I can't remember whose example this was like, okay, well, if you're going to have a game of golf with Tiger Woods in 12 months' time, you can think, okay, I've got to put my best foot forward. Like, so if we just focused on the mindset, you might have a great mindset, but if you don't know how to drive, if you don't know how to do a short game, if you don't know how to putt, that's not going to do very good. You know what I mean? And if you're going to get a little emotional every time the ball goes off to the side, then that's not going to be very good either. And you don't have any strategy. So really we need a combination of mindset and emotions. We need strategies and techniques, and we need skills and tools to make it, to make this work. That's kind of like all those things tie together. And ultimately, like achieving success, we need a balance in our life. And I like this, the balance success 4. So we need to do what's right for us, what's right for our family, what's right for our health, because if we don't have that, we kind of end up with nothing, and what's right with our business. I see a lot of entrepreneurs really stack that business, like they focus too much on the business. And I do get that when you're starting out or when there's a grind and you've got to put everything into it to make it work. But when you can come out the other side a little bit, we need to really try and make sure that we get a balance across these things. And this will really, really help with our mindset, with our emotions, and just overall, like with our balanced success. Cool. I hope you got some good value from that. Some of you probably should watch this back again as well. Remember this mindset area. It's not a destination. It's a journey. So, and we'll share with you more and more stuff on this coming up. Alrighty, that's a wrap from me. Marco will come back on as well. We'll look and see if there's any questions coming in.